We enjoy talking Clemson football with Jason Priester. You can join him on allclemson.com. That's on the Sports Illustrated SI platform for Clemson football. Jason, how you doing today?
I'm all right. How about yourself, Mark?
I'm doing maybe a little bit better than some combination of Dabo Swinney and Mike Norvell. I don't know. They seem to be at odds these days.
It's been, at the very least, it's been entertaining.
You know, I try to cut this stuff straight. I don't take a side unless I think somebody's in the right and somebody's in the wrong. And I guess I can see both sides of it. The ACC has guidelines. The guidelines were met, so we should have a football game. At the same time, it sounds like the ACC set forth when they communicated the guidelines, similar to what the Big Ten did, and Wisconsin opted out a couple times against Nebraska and Purdue, that the ACC still gave the condition and the autonomy, I'll say, to the individual schools to say, even though we meet the guidelines, we're not prepared to play. We have certain reservations about fielding a team because of the situation. Therefore, they have that option.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've gathered too in the last day or so. I really wasn't aware of that until John Swafford came out and made his comments last night. I just assumed all teams are playing by the same. We're playing by the same rules, but obviously that's not the case. The game was signed off on by the ACC, but Florida State did not feel comfortable playing, knowing that a Clemson player that was positive traveled with the team. And, I'm like you, I can see both sides of it. But there's definitely some hurt feelings. That's for sure. Dabo Swinney was not very happy with this decision, and he's still not happy this morning. At his presser this morning, he's still going on about it some.
And I understand you load your team up, and you have to load them up in a different approach to what you typically do. I think they had to take 9 buses down there. I would think that they would typically jump on a plane.
Yeah, they
would. Okay. Because South Carolina to Florida sounds like an easy trip, but it's not, all the way over to the Panhandle. So that's a flight typically, and they take 9 buses down there. And according to Dabo, spend $300,000 to travel, and they meet all the ACC guidelines, and they don't get to play a football game. And then Florida State claims that they'll reschedule in December. So I can see Dabo's side of it, and I get a kick out of him saying what he has to say. And I think he hit it on the head. I don't think there's any question, even though we don't know the individual approach of every specific person, that it's easy to say that there were decisions made by Florida State that I'm sure a lot of people, even within their football team and program, weren't on board with, but they had to be on board with it. So he understands that not everybody at Florida State didn't want to play.
Yeah, I thought he went out of his way on Sunday night to make sure he didn't put any of the blame on Mike Norvell or any of the players, that he thought it was all on the administration and the medical staff there. I thought he went out of his way to do that. And then Norvell kind of came back yesterday and took a little shot at Swinney yesterday after Dabo had went out of his way not to take any shots at him personally. That's what I meant earlier by saying it's been entertaining. It's been very entertaining. I just think it's kind of absurd to think that Clemson would knowingly allow a player that is symptomatic to practice on the field, a backup offensive lineman that doesn't hardly play, that wasn't probably going to play Saturday, and risk the entire season for a backup offensive lineman. I just think that's absurd.
Well, one of these days, hopefully Florida State gets competitive again, and this can be a fun rivalry. But as it stands right now, it's just a beatdown, and probably was going to be another one, and we probably won't see it in 2020, unfortunately. But we will see Mike Jones and Tyler Davis on the field. They were sorely missed, in particular against Notre Dame. But really, every game, there's been noticeable lapses on the defense, and you miss your arguably best defensive lineman and one of your starting outside linebackers. So you welcome them back.
Yeah, I think getting Tyler Davis back is huge. I think some people don't realize how little he's played this year. I think he's played under 70 snaps. I'd have to go back and check the numbers, but I don't even think he's even played 70 snaps this year. But yeah, he's been badly missed.
Jason.
they're fighting or they're playing. But, yeah, he's been badly missed this year. And Clemson's run defense all starts and stops with him. He's the guy that draws those double teams, lets those ends and those linebackers do work. And when he's in there, this defense is totally different. And he should be back this week. Most of those guys were supposed to be back last week. I think the only two that weren't going to play were James Skowski and Frank Latson. And they should be back towards the end of the season.